Hey everyone, it's Dr. Law. I know it's evening, it's a little bit dark outside, but I was reading your responses this week on Gestalt and psychoanalytic theory and the ego defense mechanisms, and thought I'd do a video response to all of you instead of just writing something. Um, One thing that's interesting about this course is we learn a lot about these different methodologies and theories. Learning of them is obviously just one thing. We're just learning the theory. But when you actually see it in action, when you see an ego defense mechanism, for example, in action, it is a much richer experience. It's interesting to watch projection. It's interesting to watch people do what they can to lie to themselves, to fool themselves, to project and move the discomfort away from themselves. And none of it's a bad thing at all. This is a normal, natural response. And Gestalt therapy just has a different name for it, but it's something that was identified with psychoanalytic theory or therapy. And so when you're sitting with a client and they are, and again, this is something you'll begin to see if you haven't already, and they're doing everything they can to avoid the discomfort. My first supervisor that I ever had, his name was Dr. Larry Beal. He said, if you ever see these things going on, the best way to therapeutic change is the direction of the most discomfort, which means going straight towards the defense mechanism and pointing out contradictions. Maybe pointing out that they are changing the subject, obviously in a gentle fashion, instead of just saying, hey, stop, but obviously in a more gentle and empathetic fashion. Or pointing out that they're taking their own pain and their own suffering and they're putting it on others, or they're transferring it or changing it into something different. And again, it's just pointing out the contradictions. Another thing that you can do is actually not just confront them directly, but it's like we talked about last week, is the use of metaphors, and you come up with your own ideas and stuff. And so these are just different ideas and ways of addressing those issues. But like I said, it's much more interesting when you're actually sitting in your chair and your client is engaging in those activities. Now, one thing I will say is, when it comes to any of these behaviors, the main goal of them is not necessarily to run away. Okay? It's simply that most folks don't want to feel uncomfortable. I mean, I don't want to feel uncomfortable. That's normal. It's a natural response. And so it's helping them to know that it's okay to feel uncomfortable, that it's normal, that it's a valid response for whatever it is they're struggling with. So anyways, I hope this information is helpful. I look forward to your continued responses this week, and have a good week.